run for president with a nation full of dolts like this, low-class scum.
Well, let me
like
finish
this.
what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Not my fault, but the liberals projected to people that you could go through school whether you can read or write or not. You know, I'm not saying this is power.
I really think this is. I really think this is loathsome. Here's a guy who established a very fine military career, and you're trying to besmirch that.
I think was responsible for the Persian Gulf.
You're a jerk. You're a real jerk. You know that? You're a real two-bit jerk. I'm ashamed of you.
I think it was strictly a racist thing that they
Get off my phone. I can't. And take the garbage out of your mouth. How do guys talk that way? I don't understand. I tell you, it's really disgusting, the type of vermin that's out there. But guess what? I shouldn't be surprised. It's out there.
Senator Al's just jumping ship.
Well, what's happening to Senator Al is really in the area of a seduction. It's the same type, essentially. This might seem to be a reach, but it's the same type of mentality that has motivated another Italo-American by the name of Sfacim, Mario Sfacim. And what it is I must say, there's an innate fear that they're not good enough, that they won't be accepted. And the way to be accepted is to adopt the political posture of the people they look up to, the people they feel inferior to. And that's really what has motivated Sfacim to become the hypocritical, officious liberal that he is.
So you're saying Senator Al and Sfacim are blood brothers now?
Well, they have that one thing in common, that inferiority complex. And so Senator Al, he goes out to the Hamptons this year. Claudia introduces him. This is my inamorata. This is my fiancé. And they look at him through their binoculars or through their, with the glasses. They say, "Oh, is he good enough for you, Claudia?"
Please wipe your hand before you shake.
Yes, kid. I mean, after all, isn't he supposed to be with an organ grinder and a little monkey and singing "O Solo Mio," So he wants to prove that he belongs. So when a guy talks like this, and they say, "My, he's so crude." He says, "I may be crude, but I got the right politics." And even though it looks like there's a lot of things that we should look into in the Foster case, I'm going to be above it all. I told you, by the way, that when I was at the Colonnade signing It's Sick Out There and getting sicker T-shirts, that Frank of Queens showed up. I said, Frank, why don't you call the show? And he said he was thinking about it. Okay.
Early this afternoon.
Oh, I'm not shilling for Powell.
Giuliani did the same thing last Sunday.
I am not shilling for Powell. I'm not shilling for anybody. What do you mean shilling?
Well, you seem to be doing a pretty good job of mentioning him often.
Well, you bet I'm mentioning him often. Am I the only one mentioning him often? What do you want me to do? Pretend like he's not there?
Yeah.
Pretend like the polls aren't showing him? I'm talking about a poll that was released, a New York poll that shows that he would do better against Slick Willie than Bob Dole. What do you want me to do? Pretend that... What is it with you people? What is it with you people? Why are you so anti-Powell? What are you, bigots? What is it, because he's black? What is the problem?
The guy has no credentials, for heaven's sake.
Well, then what are you worried about? If he has no credentials, then he won't go anywhere, right?
The thing is, you people...
What are you worried? You guys make me laugh. You're worried about him, and yet you say he has nothing going for him. Well, if he has nothing going for him, then there's nothing to worry about, right?
You're doing a selling job for him.
Yeah, you bet. I'm campaigning for him, okay?
Sure.
Does it make you feel better? Get off my phone!
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe these gumbones. She felt about it. But because she's a weasel, instead of saying, "Oh, I think it's a disgrace," she said, "Well, that's a private organization. We have nothing to do with it." Yeah, we know it's a private organization, Madam Governor, but couldn't you have said that you thought it was an abomination that a guy who was obviously guilty of a double murder would be selling his autographs? Oh, no. Hey, you know what? I find your lack of courage troubling, Madam Governor, troubling. Let's get Gene on the line. Hello, Gene.
Hey, how you doing? My name's Gene Klein. I'm running for Congress again.
How am I doing? I'm sitting here talking to a bunch of gabones, and he says, "How you doing?"
Yeah, I heard that last
I mean, if I were doing well, would I have to be doing this? That's not true. Impossible.
Okay, well, the thing with Paula Barbieri and his involvement with Miss America, I mean, did you hear about this?
Miss America?
Yeah, it's a new book by Howard Stern. Baba Booey, buy the book.
You're another sickola. Another AAA sickola.
Insurance. Either minimum liability or you can go all the way up to vandalism and theft.
Okay.
All right, so I think that from the age of 18, they should require everyone to carry it to 18 to 65 unless you're sick, impaired, or otherwise. And I'm not talking about the Hillary healthcare plan, which I would say this about them bums, because that Bill Clinton's going to be reelected. Down in Whitewater, she got a loan. Poor Vince Foster should have stayed home. And she'll never bother with questions she hates. That's why the lady, she's a tramp.
Wait a minute, Marty. What are you talking about? Singing about them bums, Bill Clinton, that draft dodging, dope smoking child killer, when you should be singing about the vets.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. Let's sing this one quickly, but one verse, and say, to the vets of America, I'll be home for Christmas. You could plan on me. I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams.
All right, Marty.
Bye.
Here's Brian checking in on the line. Hello, Brian.
Yeah, good evening, Bob. How you doing? Bob, I said it. I'm sure you're peachy keen. I shouldn't even ask it.
I'm not either, I don't classify myself as Democrat or Republican. I guess I wish I could profess to the religion of either one, but, I'm too much of a free thinker, and quite frankly, that's sort of what turns me off a little bit. You're not as bad as Rush or Jay, quite frankly, but when you're always, for the same politician, you have to remember political parties are not in the Constitution for a reason.
Well, political parties have nothing to do with it. These are the vehicles, these are the organizations that candidates need to run for public office. And these are the organizations that the American people have supported throughout the over 200 years of the life of this republic.
Well,
and for you to say because
those two political parties, Democrat and Republican, weren't even around 200 years ago.
That's beside the
point, Bob.
Okay, all right. I know what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with a scum, a real scum, a real phony who's afraid to be questioned. Now he says, "I'm not a member of either party. I'm a free thinker." That implies that if you're a member of either party, you're not a thinker. You're just a robot. But look how things change. You understand?
But what he did is he said, the Cold War is over. We don't need a foreign policy. And we're in a recession that we were coming out of.
Well,
that's what he played on. That's what he lied on.
Yeah, okay. So he's a liar. He always is. He always will be. And he may get away with it again in 1996. There's nothing we can do about it.
He doesn't even get hoarse when he lies anymore. That's annoying. His throat isn't getting raspy when he lies anymore. To get used to his lies.
Yeah. Okay, Lou.
We got to keep our fingers crossed.
Okay.
I'm with you.
All right, Lou.
Good night.
So he stopped calling entirely.
I know, Frank. That's Frank.
Frank, right.
I love to hear he was smart. He was very smart and brilliant.
Well, you know what happened? I think all the praise went to his head.
It did.
Yeah.
So that's Frank.
Today's New York Post editorial on Robert Torricelli. The House Ethics Committee this year determined that the congressional secrecy oath was too ambiguous to justify further action against Torricelli. Now, he was dating Bianca Jagger, who goaded him into...
She didn't have to goad him. Here's the same schmuck who wrote a letter to Daniel Ortega addressed, Dear Commandante, who kissed his Nicaraguan tush. So no, she didn't have to goad him into anything.
You're right about that.
Torricelli's a nincompoop of his own creation. He didn't need Bianca Jagger to make him one. More and more, I'm told by people who are more familiar with the program than I, because I do not listen to it. I'm getting ready to do my truly national show. And they tell me how heavily censored the Sfachim show is. So it's a fake, phony, fraud show, for heaven's sake.
It certainly is.
And then you take it like a schnook. You don't protest, for heaven's sake.
Well, that's why I'm calling you, Mr. Grant. I want you to. I want people to understand that exactly where the Sfachim is coming from. I mean,
let's have open discussion. And then he makes like he says his show is open to anybody but somebody with a closed mind. But yet he doesn't let people on his show, anybody who's really critical of him. Even he talked about Bosnia. He was saying that he's saying since the soldiers are volunteers, it's okay to send them. Not mentioning that in Vietnam, volunteers quickly dried up, at least for combat units, and they had to start draftees. And
well, what about the Gulf when he says, hey, Saddam wants a little land, give him a little land. He wants a little oil, give him a little oil. Do you realize that?
That's right. I remember it. You better believe. But since this is a Democrat, they're all uniting. Even Lynn Samuel will be after you. All of a sudden, now she's a hawk.
Don't bring her up. Don't bring her up. Listen,
okay.
How you people can take her seriously is beyond
Well, I
me.
don't, really.
Well, then why do you even bother bringing her up?
Okay.
She's irrelevant.
But
She's really. Would you quote Andy Gump, for heaven's sake?
No.
Piece in the newspaper. And because Stacey Kuhn is white, it wasn't important. And if he got knocked off, I suppose maybe another inch in the story. There's such a double standard. But hey, it's okay with most people, obviously.
Yeah, I thought they were so much against him. At least they publicized it. Somebody's trying to kill him. I didn't even hear about it.
Okay, thank you. And he tells me a second time he didn't hear about it. I tell you, I'm going to make out a list. On one side, reasons I should keep doing the show. On the other side, reasons I'd like to stop doing the show. I bet you I know which side of the list would be much longer. Why do people have to repeat the same thing that the guy started with? Why? But why?
Just said that the Kennedy notes are the smoking gun, yet Clinton says, here, you can have the notes, and Damato turns it down. It sounds like Damato has nothing.
Hold it. I know you're going to try to spin things to the advantage of Slick Willie.
Like you.
But that doesn't work. And I'll tell you why it doesn't work. Because the fact of the matter is, when Slick Willie said he would turn over the notes with conditions.
Yeah.
What conditions?
Those conditions.
What conditions? If you have nothing to hide, you turn over the notes, period.
He's working on Damato's ego and vanity, and Damato will...
cut it out. Get off the phone. You know, being that partisan is pathetic. Marty?
Bob, at this time of the year, people want to bring us down. I couldn't let you get away the last day of the year. I'll be able to talk with you. I did miss the Bob Grant gag hour. You keep talking about the third planet from the sun being struck by a meteor. Do you realize you shouldn't say that? Because if tomorrow in the paper it says a meteor is going to come wipe out the whole Earth, your ratings will go down because people hold you responsible for that. I noticed Lynn Samuels did not catch a cold, so you didn't follow my orders and give her a big kiss. This is germ warfare, soldier. You do your duty, or I'll have Patton come and slap you in the face. Now, to send you away for Christmas, I got a 10-second song to wish everybody a Merry, Merry Christmas. I'll be home for Christmas. You could plan on me. I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams. There we are. That's the Merry Christmas to everybody. And, Bob, don't forget the Slick Willie salute you have to make up so that people call, they say, Bob, can I give the Slick Willie salute like the Mario one? We're going to need your genius to do that. And I had a couple of gag hour jokes, but you probably don't want to hear. I don't want to put you in a bad mood.
It's been quite a while. I just want to know if you'd like to get, as long as it's the end of the year, how about some banal cliches to end out the new year?
Oh, great.
Oh, hi, Bob. How you doing? Oops, I didn't mean to say that. Please, Bob, bear with me. I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener. You know, Bob, you're the best, Bob. Please, don't ever change, Bob. Don't ever leave us. You know, you remind me of my father. I really appreciate the education, Bob, that you've given me over the years on my way home from work. You, along with Rush Limbaugh and Jay Diamond, and Curtis Lewa now, of course. Hello, Bob. Are you with me? Hello? You know, Bob, I agree with you about 99% of the time. Well, like I said, Bob, you're the best. I'd like your spin on that. I mean, like, what do you think about that? You know, I was listening to Dick Oliver the other day. And it was, well, anyway, Bob, have yourself a Merry Christmas, a happy, healthy New Year, and I'll be listening.
You left out a couple. It was a great job, but you left out this one. After the guy goes on and on and on, you think he's going to say, well, thanks, Bob. And he goes, what's your take on this, Bob?
No, but that's not what I called about.
Yeah. Oh, that one, yeah.
That's a good one.
After they're on for 2 hours.
Unbelievable.
Well, Steve, I look forward to many more next year from you.
All right, sir. Listen, for real, have a nice Happy New Year. Healthy.
For real, same to you, Steve.
All right, Bob. Bye-bye.
Okay. In his or her mind, then, this horrible weather. The blizzard of 96. The blizzard of 96, going down in history as the most monstrous northeast blizzard in the annals of the Weather Bureau. And it is times like these that we should realize again and again how really putrid we are, and how, in spite of our strutting and in spite of our thinking how great we are, how powerful we are, how wise we are, compared to nature, we are putrid, we are nothing. So much of our efforts since we came out of the caves, and since we came out of the slime, that's what Charles Darwin said, we came out of the slime. So much of our efforts, so much of our talent, so much of our energy has been devoted toward killing each other. I wonder if we had spent half as much of that energy in trying to determine how we could, at least to some extent, tame the elements, how much better off we might be. Ever increasingly, more and more of the American so-called entertainment dollar is spent on sporting events, on team events, on competition between teams or individuals. And of course, the object is to get one more run than the other side, to get one more touchdown, to get one more goal, to get one more basket, to run faster, to jump higher. It's all about competition. That's what it is. It's all about who can be better, who can be faster, who can be tougher, who can be stronger. And of course, the ultimate gladiator-type challenge, stepping into a ring in which two individuals attempt to give each other brain concussions. Now, I don't want to be a killjoy, and heavens, nobody's going to listen to me anyway. So don't worry about me spoiling your fun. But everything suggests this total commitment to rivalry. Maybe that's why we have endured. Maybe that's why we have survived. Delightful man he is. He's a happy man. A happy man. And he has that trait that so many happy people have. You know what that is? They like to do things for other people. They like to give of themselves. I guess we can't change our own nature. But there are those amongst us who are selfish, who are takers, who want to constantly receive, constantly be given, constantly be paid homage to. Are they happy? Not really. They never have enough. Not enough is done for them. And you find a fellow like Mr. Latorre, who's not looking for anything other than to be a good citizen, and indeed he is.
Things I'd like to address. Firstly, I want to know why that vicious attack on May, the 16-year-old Asian girl who needed 350 stitches in her face, and why that wasn't labeled a racial attack. Once again, the convenient excuse of the liberals, that phrase popped up. It was a random attack. I'm surprised they didn't say, well, it was just a crime of opportunity. And secondly, Bob, the perpetually constipated-looking Pat Schroeder washed up on this radio station last week, and of course, she was pandered to by the host and blaming the Republicans for the government shutdown, saying in a snide manner, quote, your tax dollars at work, unquote. Oh, was it our tax dollars being put to good use when Democrats abused their privileges in the post office scandal? And Hazel O'Leary has put our tax dollars to good use, hasn't she? And Bill Clinton's staff using presidential helicopters to play golf, although that was a good use of our tax dollars. Bob, there are hundreds of other examples. And continuing with Democratic and liberal hypocrisy, Bob, the Democrats are always talking about how we need to find jobs for people, providing for families, and their favorite phrase, the children. So what does one of their big heroes, Hillary, do? She fires a bunch of hardworking middle-class people to put, quote, her people in. Oh, that was really thinking of the children and families. Thanks, Bob.
All right, John, thank you. You never heard that, you jerk. You never heard that. Here we are on WABC. Here's Peter checking in. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Bob. How you doing? I'm a first-time caller.
Really? How am I doing? I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you my home phone number. And this evening, I want you to call me at home, and we'll chat. Because I'm doing a radio program right now, Peter.
Okay.
The City Hall. Didn't you know he has a shoe shine parlor?
Yes. Where's his voice, though?
He's got it. Well, come on. Don't, he's over. He's past.
Right.
You Capones make me laugh. Where's Peter Rodino? Thank you, Benny. I had a spoiler. Where's Peter Rodino? I'm shining shoes. Matter of fact, every morning he shines Donald Payne's shoes. Did you know that? That's in the deal there. Yep. This is Peter Rodino. But he's got a young chickie poo, though. How do these old codgers do that? Hey, maybe he ought to write a book. All right, here is the splendid article written by William Safire, which appeared yesterday. And unfortunately, because of the horrendous weather, the circulation of the Times was not what it should have been. Hopefully they will reprint William Safire's essay. Here it is. Blizzard of Lies is the title. Americans of all political persuasions are coming to the sad realization that our First Lady, a woman of undoubted talents who was a role model for many in her generation, is a congenital liar. Drip by drip, like whitewater torture, the case is being made that she is compelled to mislead and to ensnare her subordinates and friends in a web of deceit. Number one, remember the story she told about studying the Wall Street Journal to explain her 10,000% profit in 1979 commodity trading? We now know that was a lie told to turn aside accusations that as a governor's wife, she profited corruptly, her account being run by a lawyer for state poultry interests through a disreputable broker. She lied for good reason. To admit otherwise would be to confess taking and paying taxes on what some think amounted to a $100,000 bribe. Two, the abuse of presidential power known as Travelgate elicited another series of lies. She induced a White House lawyer to assert flatly to investigators that Mrs. Clinton did not order the firing of White House travel aides, who were then harassed by the FBI and Justice Department to justify patronage replacement by Mrs. Clinton's cronies. Now we know from a memo long concealed from investigators that there would be, quote, hell to pay if the furious First Lady's desires were scorned. The career of the lawyer who transmitted Hillary's lie to authorities is now in jeopardy. Again, she lied, with good reason, to avoid being identified as a vindictive political power player who used the FBI to ruin the lives of people standing in the way of juicy patronage. Three, in the aftermath of the apparent suicide of her former partner and closest confidant, White House Deputy Counsel Vincent Foster, she ordered the overturn of an agreement to allow the Justice Department to examine the files in the dead man's office. Her closest friends and aides under oath have been blatantly remembering this likely obstruction of justice and may have to pay for supporting Hillary's lie with jail terms. Again, the lying was not irrational. Investigators believe that damning records from the Rose law firm wrongfully kept in Vincent Foster's White House office were spirited out in the dead of night and hidden from the law for 2 years in Hillary's closet, in Webb Hubbell's basement, before his felony conviction, in the president's secretary's personal files, before some were forced out last week. Why the White House concealment? For good reason. The records show Hillary Clinton was lying when she denied actively representing a criminal enterprise known as the Madison Savings and Loan, and indicates she may have conspired with Webb Hubbell's father-in-law to make a sham land deal that cost taxpayers $3 million. Why the belated release of some of the incriminating evidence? Not because it mysteriously turned up in offices previously searched. Certainly not because Hillary Clinton and her new hanged-up White House counsel want to respond fully to lawful subpoenas. One reason for the Friday night dribble of evidence from the White House is the discovery by the FBI of copies of some of those records elsewhere. When Clinton witnesses are asked about specific items in, quote, lost records, which investigators have, the White House, quote, finds its copy and releases it. By concealing the Madison billing records 2 days beyond the statute of limitations, Hillary evaded a civil suit by bamboozled bank regulators. Another reason for recent revelations is the imminent turning of former aides and partners of Hillary against her. They were willing to cover her lying when it advanced their careers, but are inclined to listen to their own lawyers when faced with perjury indictments. Therefore, ask not, why didn't she just come clean in the beginning? She had good reasons to lie. She is in the long-time habit of lying, and she has never been called to account for lying herself or in suborning lying in her aides and friends. No wonder the president is fearful of holding a prime-time press conference. Having been separately deposed by the independent counsel at least twice, the president and first lady would be well advised to retain separate defense counsel. Oh, what a damaging, what an incisive, devastating article by the great William Safire.
Well, the morning when the bomb went off, the local radio stations all were saying that the Oklahoma City
Are
police
you on a speakerphone?
No.
Well,
they said the Oklahoma City...
Where are you calling from? A vacated silo out in the middle of North Dakota?
No, I'm calling from Suffolk County, but they
why
said
the
that
echo? Why the echo like that?
I don't know.
Little Sir Echo, how do you do?
Anyway, if there were additional charges placed inside
cut it out, you guys.
You
guys make me laugh.
Why would you laugh at the death of so many people?
Yeah, too many people. You guys.
Somebody did. Well, listen, if you're thinking, man, you got to think if there were charges placed in the building, who did it? I don't know.
Well, there were charges
placed in the building.
There were charges placed in the building. Guys like you who want to indict agencies.
I don't know what agencies. All I'm saying is, why do you try to intimidate people who just speculate about it? We know somebody with access was in there.
I hope you get better. I really do.
Do you ignore that information?
No. It's just the fact that guys like you are always trying to exculpate somebody like Tim McVeigh, let him off the hook.
Why'd they have to remove it?
Get off my phone, for heaven's sake. I can't take it. Can't take it. Use apologize the next time you call, damn it. I like that statement. She will answer all legitimate questions. Who decides what's a legitimate question and what is an illegitimate question? Madame Hillary herself? Come on.
Hello, Mr. Grant. President Bill Clinton, is batting 1,000 in foreign policy right now. And let me give you a reason why peace in the Golan Heights is good for Israel. Right now, we have a global economy. Israel is situated to take advantage of that. They have capital. They have access to capital. It means that they can manufacture in China, ship to the United States. Countries like Singapore, Holland, they'll all benefit from a global economy because they can use the...
In other words, without American troops on the Golan Heights, there's no global economy.
No.
To listen to you talk, the way to have a global economy is to put troops on the Golan Heights.
No.
Hey, that's great. I didn't know that. My gosh.
To take advantage of it. They're going to have the troops there. This way, that will guarantee the peace. Just the way the...
Yeah, he's batting 1,000, all right, like he batted in Somalia. Yeah.
Sign that he's a child molester. He should have the sign on him hanging from a tree, dead. This way, when they pass by and they read the sign, they see what can happen if you become a child molester. That's the way it works, not just walking around with a sign. It's ridiculous. It's like a prima donna idea. It has no significance whatsoever. It's just something like a slap on the wrist to make him feel good, thinking that he's going to embarrass these type of people. These type of people are not embarrassed. Right or wrong?
Wrong. I don't agree with you.
No, I do. I think it's...
Okay, you agree with yourself. That's nice. It's nice to know you agree with yourself.
All right. Take it easy.
Thank you. I said, I don't agree with you. He says, I do. Of course he agrees. Look at him. Joe from New Haven, hello. And I despise it when people are so disingenuous. They say, well, I'm not a fan of Slick Willie, but, and then they proceed to tell you they certainly are. Pat, you're a real AAA jerk. Hello, Ed. What's on your mind?
Hi, Bob. As you know, O.J. Simpson was on CNN today trying to fool more people with his lies.
Yeah, he called the show because he saw that Ben Susteren broad,
right,
who is a real sucker, who has been real sympathetic to him.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Newspaper here on Long Island. And it made reference to your ethnic heritage as to being not wholly European, that you disguised your ethnic heritage because you didn't want people to know that you were Jewish and you were afraid of anti-Semitism over the telephone.
You know, you're a fake, phony fraud. Why are you trying to disguise your voice, David?
What do you mean, sir?
What do I mean, sir? What do you want to be when you grow up, you little weasel? Right here.
Hi, Bob. Bob, the latest conservative and Republican who isn't afraid to speak out and strikes a chord with the American people must be destroyed. That's the liberals who are so desperate to, that's what they want to do to Pat Buchanan. You know, first it was Ronald Reagan, then George Bush, then Dan Quayle and Newt Gingrich, and now Pat Buchanan. And in the usual sneaky and disingenuous liberal style, they pretend to be concerned about a noble cause, in this case, Pat's so-called anti-Semitism, while pushing ahead with their real agenda, which is destroying any conservative who tells it like it is. And it's not that I agree with Pat Buchanan on everything like you. I think he goes too far when it comes to abortion. But look at these liberal hypocrites, Bob. The obnoxious Ed Koch, who said 3 or 4 years ago, any Jew who votes for Jesse Jackson would be crazy. Now he says he would vote for that traitor and racist before a great patriot like Pat Buchanan. He says Jesse Jackson apologized for his remarks, and he's a changed man. Yeah, Jesse Jackson apologized because he was running for the nomination at the time, and he needed Jewish votes to win in New York. You know, David Duke apologized for things he said and done in the past, but hypocrite Koch didn't offer that olive branch to David Duke. He usually uses David Duke to show his even-handedness when he's forced to address black racism. Koch and other liberals point to Bill Buckley now as claiming Pat Buchanan is anti-Semitic. You know, the same Bill Buckley whom they probably disagree with 99% of the time, but when Buckley says something that they can use for propaganda value, then he's a genius who can be quoted. And most of these despicable liberal hypocrites are the biggest excuse makers and panderers to blacks, where you'll find more anti-Semitism than in the 1923 Nuremberg rallies. And you know, Bob, Carl Rowan, for instance, he's, quote, frightened by Steve Forbes and Pat Buchanan. But he's not frightened by the Black Caucus or Louis Farrakhan. And living in Washington, D.C., I'll bet that Carl Rowan wasn't carrying that illegal gun because he was afraid of people who looked like Steve Forbes or Pat Buchanan. And you know, Bob, Richard Nixon, who was accused of making anti-Semitic remarks during his administration, he turned out to be one of Israel's greatest defenders. If it weren't for him, the Israelis would have been defeated in 1973. You have a left-winger on this station who loves racist David Dinkins, who oversaw and permitted a modern-day Kristallnacht in Crown Heights, but she wanted to see him reelected. So let's not be diverted by liberal America haters who just don't like Pat Buchanan's pro-American policies. And finally, Bob, for conservative Jews out there who may have some concerns about Pat, I urge them to put what's good for America ahead of religion or ethnicity. Thanks a lot.
Before you go.
Yes.
One more.
I'll be there.
I want to hear a little more of that Ed Koch.
How about just one word, Bob? Stop.
Okay. All right. It slams the lid on things for today. Until tomorrow, when we return, knowing the winner of the New Hampshire primary. This is Bob Brown. Without you, your influence counts. Use it. Get Gaddafi.
More. Lovely time making common cause with Fidel Castro.
Yeah, isn't that a disgrace?
Bob, the Republican Congressional Campaign Committee should make millions of reprints of that picture. And Congressman Kennedy, another Bostonian many years ago named Joseph Welsh, wrote the question for you. Have you no shame, sir? Have you no shame?
Yep. That was the question he posed to Joe McCarthy.
Joe McCarthy.
And that was the question that became the symbol of the anti-McCarthy movement.
Well, it's a good question, and we've got a new person to ask it to.
And there's also a congressman by the name of Charlie Rangel.
Oh, yeah.
Actually explaining that, wait a minute, these guys had reason to shoot down these planes. Can you imagine that?
Well, sure. I mean, I'm sure there's an argument. But,
well, no, there's no argument.
Tell him?
A guy like Charlie Rangel and members of that so-called caucus find it very easy to side with foreign governments, whomever those foreign governments are, whether it be the Ayatollah Khamenei, whether it be the Saddam Hussein, whether it be Gaddafi, whether it be this bum Castro. Thank you very much, Lee.
Thanks, Bob.
Been a lot of talk, especially on WABC, about Pat Buchanan having written a column about Israel's, quote, amen corner in the U.S. Congress.
Why are you stopping? What's the matter? Why are you stopping?
I'm not stopping at all.
Oh, well, you...
I thought perhaps you might want to make...
What do you want me to say? Yes? Okay. Yes?
Okay. My comment is that you've just had the ambassador on your program, and I'm wondering what American interest lies with Israel. I feel very sorry that there were 2 Americans killed in the bombing. I think it's terribly unfortunate. I feel terribly bad that 25 people were killed yesterday. But given Israel's relative importance in the American... No, I don't agree with him. I disagree with him.
Well, then why are you asking the questions the way you're asking in such a loaded fashion, then, if you don't agree with him?
I don't agree with him.
Oh, you don't agree with him?
No, I don't.
Well, then why did you ask...
My comment is that we're constantly discussing Israel's affairs. We have a neighbor to our north that is...
Wait a minute. You know what? You're speaking with forked tongue. You say you don't agree with him, and yet, on the other hand, you're saying we're too involved with Israel? Is that right?
No, I just think it takes up way too much of our foreign policy time.
Get off the phone. What a fake fool. We just can't come out and say what he really wants to say.
Your program, and you ruminate on the airways about retiring or whatever it is. And what I'm trying to figure out here is you always ask people what their ulterior motive is. Are you trying to get them to renegotiate your contract?
Oh, no, I'm
you want people to beg you to stay?
No, Eric, may I answer your question?
Please.
The answer is no, I'm not trying. I have a very splendid contract, a very good contract, one that I think is very fair, and I think the management here is just great. No, it's just letting off some steam when I talk to scum like you. I feel better when I say things like that. So as long as scum like you keep calling, I'll keep talking that way. Scum. Hello.
Man, anybody but Clinton.
Yes.
Yet earlier today, I heard you say, when they were talking about Giuliani's program yesterday, which I didn't see, that Giuliani had some goods on Pat Buchanan.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Did you call me?
No, I didn't.
Oh, because I thought you said earlier today you said
I heard you say...
Oh, you heard. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
You said it, that you hoped that Giuliani would come out with some information on Pat Buchanan so you could bring him down.
No, I didn't say so I could bring him down. Who am I to bring anybody down?
That's what you said. Then why are you picking on Pat Buchanan?
I didn't say so that I could bring him down.
Yes, you did. Please, play the tape over. You said if
I don't have to play the tape. I know what I said. I don't have to play the tape.
Well,
Hank, what is your problem?
My problem is that I'm for Pat Buchanan, and if you're not for him, that's fine, but I don't think you should be knocking him because the Jewish people are telling you to knock him.
The Jewish people don't tell me to knock or to praise or to do anything. Nobody.
Why do you want to bring him down?
Hank, I didn't say I wanted to bring him down. I didn't say that. I said he'd better come out with that stuff if he's got it while the getting's good.
You said you would love to...
Hey, Hank, I don't care what I said. I don't care what I said.
Why don't you ask the rest of the...
Hank, why don't you blow your nose the next time you call this show, you creep? That slams the lid on things for today. Until tomorrow, Bob Grant reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. Get Gaddafi.
Concerning Bob Dole and essentially, the support he's getting in New Jersey from that dyke, Christine Whitman, and the governor.
Hey, wait a minute. Hold it. You want to continue talking, you can, but you don't call her that name.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It just slipped.
It slipped. Come on, cut it out. Didn't just slip.
Freudian slip. But regardless, you know, Bob. The more I look at Bob Dole's campaign, the more it reflects on me that there's really not much of a difference between Bob Dole and Bill Clinton, in the fact that they're both Washington politicians, they're professionals. In the case of Slick Willie, he's a criminal.
Well, what I think you ought to do is, if the senator gets the nomination, is make your decision when the campaign is underway, the general campaign, and they're campaigning against each other. And, David, no more fake Freudian slips, huh? Doug, hello.
Can I please send out, with your approval, I'd like to send out a salute to Mr. Mario, wherever he's hiding.
Oh, the Svachim?
You know it.
What do you want to say? The original.
You got it.
Okay.
I haven't heard it in a while.
Give it to him.
Okay, I'm going to sing it. Here we go. Mario, oh, send me to the planet Svachim. Thank you, Bob.
If someone just came from some other part of the country, never heard the program before, and they heard that, what would they think? A guy calls, he says, I want to send him the salute, I want to sing it. It's sick out there and getting sicker. And you know what I know something, folks? I've decided. You can't beat them, join them.
Basically, they dominate the media, and that's why it's so liberal. This is from Forbes magazine, December 23, 1991, page 38.
Now, so therefore, these guys are null and void. Who does that leave you with? Outside of Slick Willie, which, of course, you're a Slick Willie man.
No, but I don't think these guys should be, these guys sound pretty extreme to me.
I see. Well, do you have a candidate, Mitch?
I don't know. It's hard to say, but it's just funny how they're just ganging up on calling Pat Buchanan extreme.
Ah, you're a Pat Buchanan fan, right?
Well, I'm not too sure now. I don't know.
Yeah, of course you're a Pat Buchanan fan, and I had you spotted the minute you started talking.
Well, what I'm saying is true, though.
No, well, it's not true.
Read this book, Senator for Sale.
See this book. Anybody can write a book and claim any damn thing. You know what I mean?
But this guy is Jewish, though.
Well, then it makes it all correct.
Well, I think.
What about you? You're not Jewish, are you?
No.
Okay. You're a fake, phony, fraud, two-bit skunk. Get off my phone. See, there's a Buchanan supporter trying to say that, Bob, they'll take a test. Who's the least anti-Semitic candidate? Please come forward. For heaven's sake. But this little slithering serpent that was just on the line, this Mitch, he is... I knew he had to be a Buchanan supporter. And can you imagine a Buchanan supporter trying to come out and say Dole and Forbes are anti-Semitic? Well, hey, this program is what they call an attractive nuisance. You know what attractive nuisance is? Something that attracts people, but is also disturbing. And this program really attracts a lot of wackos, AAA Socolas, and other miscreants to call the program. Which, of course, is what we're here for, to take telephone calls. Lewis, hello.
Lewis.
He got wounded. Was in that hospital for a long, long time. They did save his arm. He still has the arm, but it's really not been much use to him, as you can see. So for you to call, you little worm, you little two-bit worm, to call and say, did I see that they don't give Purple Hearts, they don't give oak leaf clusters for nothing, pal. They don't give silver stars for nothing, pal. You little jerk. You're not even worth talking to. I mean, it's one thing the guy want to say, hey, I don't like his politics, I don't like him, I'm voting for Pat Buchanan. But you see, it's one of the things that I don't think Pat would approve of this. But if you've noticed the emotional level of the Pat Buchanan supporters, now this guy wants to even impugn something that even Democrats don't argue with, and that is the fact that Bob Dole is a genuine, bona fide war hero who practically lost his life and lost the use of his right arm in service to his country. And yet this jerk, this crumb, this no-good blankety-blank wants to try to besmirch that.
I don't hear no calls to get Schwarzkopf or anybody else for that matter. To me, they're just going to use the guy. The reverse of it, to use him for his race, I don't know that that's so smart. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I mean, I don't know. But I'm just saying, I find that a little amazing. But as far as calling Buchanan extremist, I find that amazing because I don't think he was this. I don't see how they could.
Hey, listen, naturally you would feel that way because.
Well, tell me why. I mean, immigration.
Barbara, why do you interrupt when I'm trying to make a point?
Yes,
Why do you
you're
jump
right.
in? Why do you
You're
jump?
right.
Why do you
You're
jump
right.
in like that? Why do you do that, Barbara?
No,
Why
I
do
was
you?
just surprised.
You know, you make me not even want to have a discussion with you when you do that.
Well, I just wanted to ask you, what do you think about the immigration, drugs, and also the trade? Where would you think he was wrong? I was just curious. I respect your opinion.
I have no problem with a moratorium on immigration.
Yeah, that's good.
I have been calling myself for an end to illegal immigration.
Yes, I know that. I thought that.
Stamp it down.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
see, you got to jump in. Get off my phone. She's got to jump in all the time. What an excitable person she must be. My heavens, how hyper. I just speak for myself, and people like you speak for yourself.
What is Dole going to do that's different?
Well, I'll tell you what he's going to do that's different. He is committed to balancing the budget. He's committed to lower taxes. All right, you ask me a question, I answer. You don't like the answer. Get off my phone, you ski-boos. What a jerk. These people are... I get the angriest callers. Is it me? Maybe it's something I'm doing. Try not to sound so angry. Hi, this is Bob Grant. Remember Pinky Lee? Well, he taught me everything I know. This portion brought to you by Prudential. Here's Bob from Hoboken. Hello, Bob.
How you doing, Bob Grant?
How am I doing? Have you heard the program the last 15, 20 minutes?
Oh, well, you can't be doing as bad as I am.
Really? I mean, have you heard some of the beauties that I've heard from?
There have been some gabones.
Yeah. Heard that Joe from Bloomfield and that real psycho ahead of him?
She was very interesting.
Yeah, to say the least.
Here's the hypocrisy of the liberals, namely Jack Newfield. I'd like to expose the hypocrisy of the feminists and, unfortunately, what I see as their supporters, which are most women. Bob, you mentioned... that you think that it's okay for a woman to, in the first trimester, to have an abortion if she so desires. Well, women, Bob, have every right that a man has in 1996. So I don't see why it's so unreasonable to say that a man in the first trimester should also have a choice. A choice to say, I want to be out of this picture. It's my decision. I should have the same right as a woman to decide whether I want to be involved with a possible child or not. Now, I have a suggestion for Steve.
Well, if nature should reverse and males should carry the offspring, then I suppose he would.
Yeah, but Bob...
but it's a little difficult for him to say, I'm going to have an abortion when he's not talking about his body, but somebody else's body, right? No, Joe, listen, you're such a sick misogynist.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, really, you're such a misogynist. You're pathetic.
Well, I guess you support feminists, and I guess you'll be a patsy for women no matter what they demand, no matter what double standard they insist upon.
No. That's not true. It's not true, Joe, but I don't believe in replacing one insanity with another one.
Bob, men may not be able to carry the baby, but men carry the child literally on their backs while the child is an infant, and they carry the child financially for 18 to 21 years.
Well, then why didn't they think about it when they were having... is it coitus?
Well, Bob, I say equality. It's the same standards for men and women. Why didn't the women think about it?
Hey, listen, if a guy was so afraid of having offspring, he should have had a vasectomy.
Well,
by the way, Joe, if you had sex, which obviously you don't, and that's really your problem, would you have a vasectomy?
Well, Bob, I may not have sex, but I'll tell you one thing. My dignity, my integrity, and my self-esteem and my pride are intact.
How could you have dignity, self-esteem, and pride when at your age you're still masturbating daily?
Well, I mean, this is your speculation, but,
No, I know about guys like you, Joe. I know about guys like you.
Unfortunately...
you can relate to a photo or a tape, but not to a living, breathing, flesh and blood woman.
Yeah, because they're full of hypocrisy, they're full of manipulation, and I refuse to go for it, yeah. Bob, if I could relate to you a story about deadbeat moms, is that possible? I'll relate a personal history here. I got involved with a woman who got pregnant, who lied to me all along, then turned around and had the child and said to me, I'm taking you to court unless you give me what I demand, which she said the minimum, she stipulated the minimum amount she wanted, which I gave her for 5 years. At the end of 5 years, she turned around and gave the child to me voluntarily. At that point, all of a sudden, the minimum became half of the minimum. So she proceeded to pay me half of what she said was the minimum for about, let's say, about six years or so. And guess what? All of a sudden, she went and bought a house, and she said to me, guess what? I can't afford to give you anything anymore. I'm not giving you a penny. Well, how do you feel about that? So, I mean, all you hear about are deadbeat dads. You never hear about deadbeat moms.
How is your child?
My child is doing fine. He's thriving with a normal, sane father.
Well, that's what counts. That's what counts, right? I mean, after all, it was yours. You loved the child. You took responsibility. Good for you, Joe. Good for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Bob.
All right. Right here at WABC, Ziggy. Hello, Ziggy.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Ziggy.
Hey, first of all, let me tell you one thing. Last week Sunday, I caught a portion of the whole thing. Frank, you know the vintage Frank?
Vintage Frank, he only calls the network show.
The network.
He's a network performer.
I said it's better to be on the network, but the whole country is all right. I don't know, a couple 100 stations and be a local New Yorkie guy. So maybe he went to the network. I tell you, I was delighted he decided to call for a change. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
It's...
Want to carry a gun, huh? You really want to walk around with a gun in your pocket?
I'm off to Florida. That's where I'm going. Because then
that doesn't answer my question. That doesn't answer my question. You want to walk around with a... How come you're under such threat, and there are those of us who we have no need for a gun, no desire for a gun, but you want to carry a gun? You're going to carry a gun when you go to Florida?
Absolutely.
You are.
That's one of the reasons.
I'll bet you 10-1 you're not going to carry a gun. I'll bet you're like a lot of guys who call the Bob Grant show, want to sound real big, real tough, real macho.
It really has nothing to do with that, Bob.
No?
I'll be honest with you. It's gotten to the point where I hear situations like that. I have friends that are police officers, okay? They don't say this to you on a public basis, but when you have friends that are police officers, guys my age, responsible adults, they say, get a gun.
More Americans listen to this radio station.
Ian, what's on your mind?
Yes, I'm quite upset about Dershowitz leaving. And I would like to point out to your listeners that just the other day, I was listening to Jay Diamond, and I heard him say that Lionel was a drunk and an alcoholic.
Jay Diamond never said that.
Yes, he did.
Jay Diamond said that?
Yes, he did. Over the air. He said
I don't believe that.
Well, you can listen to the tape.
I can't believe that. Come on, Ann, you're making that up.
He said he calls me at night, and he's drunk most of the time, and he's an alcoholic.
And
I think he should be fired. If
he didn't say that.
Then I think Jay Diamond should be fired.
He never said that. You know what? I just received word. I just received word that you are a fake, phony fraud from an excellent source. His producer just told me, you're making this up. You are an evil, vicious person to make this up, and shame on you. And she hung up because she was exposed.
A national interview today with Alan Dershowitz, and he made some rather serious accusations against you.
Again?
Yes, and he trotted out quotes from the New Yorker and certain unnamed media monitoring groups, which reported...
Hey, look, do they keep dredging up that stuff? I mean, that stuff was said how long ago? They have dates on there, the New Yorker. I mean, is that what they're going to do? I mean, do they have to go into history?
Well, there was more to it than that. And these were reported... you were reported to have made these statements. And I'll say that out of respect for your Afro-American listeners, I'm not going to dignify these
come on. Look, you don't have to put on that false act with me.
Well, I really
you don't have to. I know the statements because I've seen the magazine. What do you even bother telling me for?
Well, what I really was surprised about was that he also called you an anti-Semite, and he said...
Yeah, what does he base that on?
He said that you were not...
What does he base that on?
He said you were not an overt anti-Semite, but a devious one.
Devious, huh?
He said that you allowed representatives of
okay, all right. Same old crap. Matter of fact, I think this guy might have been the aforementioned Pellegrino guy. Wish we had caller ID like on the network show. Anyway... Let's try Carolyn on the telephone from Greenwich.
The words he was saying, he never was part of the black community. It was really terrific, Bob. If you could get a copy of that.
All right, I thank you very much. He's going to be on this show next Wednesday.
I'm glad. I'm really glad.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, we're going to continue on the Bob Grant Show. Here's Joe checking in from New York. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Bob. I would just say 5 words to Mr. Darden. The gloves don't fit. Bye.
That was a real super jerk. The gloves did fit. They would have fit if they didn't have the stupid plastic gloves underneath, and if the guy really tried to put them on. But you see, why do program? Oh, I'm just told that this slime said he wanted to talk about Governor Pataki. Hit and run, always hit and run. They're up out there, and they're sick out there, and getting sicker.
Listen, to that gentleman who thought Catholicism was such a gutter religion and he hated the book of Leviticus and all of this stuff, he's already got his wish. He has a society without religion. You know, the earrings, the drugs, the abortion, all of this here, tattoos, it all comes out of the same bag of tricks. Now, he mentioned that Catholics were burning people at stake. In this country, it was Protestants and Puritans who burned people in the Salem witch trials. It was Catholics didn't burn anybody in this country. But he already has his wish. Now, if he wants to hold the Bible responsible for people's actions, that would be like holding the Bible responsible for David Koresh. There are people around who do things that are not church doctrine, that are not church teachings, and Galileo was not persecuted by the church. He put under house arrest because I've been reading lately about the barbarian invasions. You talk about the Visigoths, the Vandals. You know, the Aryan race came from, these were the Nordic people from way up north. And when Rome was at its peak of libraries and culture and art, the barbarians, when the Rhine River froze in 1496, and these people came running across and invaded Europe, and the Roman government fell. All that was left was the church. And the church civilized and brought a lot of art and work. And you look to the 15th, 16th century, the Renaissance. You had Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. These were all people sponsored by the church. And the fruition of this today is the Holy Father, Pope John Paul II. And for this guy to call up because of his animalistic needs in Leviticus, which says don't sleep with animals, don't sleep with a man as a man, that marriage is a sacred union between man and woman for the sacred right of their children to be raised so they're not confused, so they have a mother and a father. And for him to look at the face of my Pope, John Paul II, Carol Ward just out, and say that he's an evil guy and he's no good for kids, I think...
He did mention Pope John Paul.
He mentioned the church.
All right, okay.
All right, Bob, listen. I think that Pat Buchanan lacked an essential quality as a president. He had the fighting qualities, but he lacked an essential quality called diplomacy, which Ronald Reagan had. After he won New Hampshire, he should have sat down with Barbara Walters, Dave Brinkley. Look, I'm sorry. I made a few statements in the heat argument. Country's going to war, Persian Gulf. I'm a commentator like Bob Grant, like Jay Diamond on the radio, and I made some statements that could offend, and I'm sorry. He didn't do that. Now we have Bob Dole and Bill Clinton. I hope Bob Dole does something dramatic because people have been depressed. Jay Diamond's losing his sense of humor. You see the way the country, you see the crime and murders. I mean, I watch the news tonight. It just makes me sick. And the Democrats made this, so I just want 10 seconds, 15 seconds to dedicate in the name of Mario Cuomo and Spachimilat, the Democrats. The Democrats were elected years ago here to tax and spend our cash away. And there's a legal limit to our income. Spachimilat, Spachimilat, the Democrats made. I know it sounds a bit bizarre. Abortion on demand, it rules the days here. Religion is forbidden in the schools. In short, there's simply not a more liberal socialist plot. But we're all doomed forever, for we live in Spachimilat. So we get rid of Bill Clinton, Bob. And I got to say, when I was in 6th grade, okay, 6th grade, the kids would run around and say, when they were teasing people, say, you're an abortion, it failed. Little kids know what abortion is, and it's put in their mindset that life is cheap. And
all right, okay, thank you. Go in peace, sin no more.
Wrong as usual when she predicted that Staten Island would be the only borough that would vote for Pat Buchanan. And not that it would be wrong to vote for him. But secondly, I see that both Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton are at it again. Jackson accusing the Academy Awards of racism. I want to see more whites, like you said last week, Bob. I want to see more whites at the music awards. If racists like Jackson and liberals want to go strictly by numbers, there should be hardly a black face
at any ceremony in America. I mean, since whites are still 75% of the population, and I want more white contestants in the Black Miss America contest. There's black contestants in the real Miss America contest, who, by the way, have won disproportionately in the last few years. And Al Sharpton accusing Governor Pataki of racism for removing a racist DA in the Bronx. Can you imagine Al Sharpton accusing someone else of racism, Bob? Here's a thug who's made a career being a racist. But you see the way they work it? These black racists cause havoc. They're criticized a little bit for it. They lay low for a while until people forget their current transgression. Then they cause trouble again to keep the contributions coming from their fellow racist followers, because this is how they make their living. They have no real jobs. And one final thing, Bob. I have sympathy for Mrs. McCarthy, whose husband was killed and her son was maimed by that racist, not a maniac, but a racist, Colin Ferguson. But she should be campaigning against what really killed her husband and maimed her son. Black racism. Guns don't have legs. You know, it wasn't an assault weapon that destroyed her family. It was black racism. An assault weapon didn't kill innocent people in the Harlem Massacre. It was Roland Smith's racism. Yanko Rosenbaum wasn't killed by an assault weapon either. Black racism killed him, but, you know, it's not really hard to cite these numbers for what I'm saying. I like to back up what I say all the time, because a lot of people just think I'm talking through my hat and it's coming from, a bias. According to Jared Taylor's book, Paved with Good Intentions.
Oh, you're not even supposed to mention that. Did you know that this organization, FAIR, has said that book should be burned? Did you know that Alan Dershowitz said that it proclaims itself to be a racialist book, which it doesn't? It says that an honest look at race relations in America, or words to that effect. Did you know that? Did you know that there is a constant... No, how could you know that there is a drumbeat? It goes on and on to try to demonize this book. These guys haven't even read this book, and they are calling it all kinds of names. Now, I gave this book to someone who had no foreknowledge of any of the allegations made. He read the book, and he said, it's not a racist book. Quite the contrary. But anyway, I just had to throw that in because you would have no way of knowing the onslaught, the fusillade, the barrage that is going on right here at this radio station from these people who want to dictate to us what to do, who to put on, and what to say.
Yeah, these are the people who go around calling others Nazis, Bob. If they were in Nazi Germany, they would be burning that book right now. Because anything that tells the truth and refutes their pathetic arguments is it's trouble for them. They've got to get rid of it. Look how they handled you. They just want to get rid of you. They don't come back with facts of their own. They just destroy the person.
And each day they send out propaganda, not only attempting to pillory me for what I have said in the past, but for what callers say. John have said that. John, you have my future in your hands. Don't say anything that will offend them. Please, John, please don't say anything that will offend them.
Well, you don't even have to say anything, Bob. When they hear certain names, they're offended.
That's right. But, you know, the thing that is the most vexing is somebody asked me about the National Alliance. I said, well, I don't have a problem with the National Alliance. Do you know whose outfit is the National Alliance? And I thought this caller was asking me about someone by the name of Fulani. Do you know Lenore Fulani?
Lenore Fulani, yeah, a real lefty anti-American skunk.
She calls her outfit the National Alliance. Well, apparently there's another National Alliance of some neo-Nazi jerks out there somewhere, and these people are saying, yeah, you see, he has no problem. He has no problem with this neo-Nazi group. I'm sick and tired of this group. If they want to get me, and they do want to get me, if they do get me, they get me. But they're not going to get me by virtue of my rolling over and playing dead.
No, that's it. Keep it. The only thing these people understand, Bob, is when you fight back, you cannot console them. You cannot pacify them.
No, that's right. They're vicious. They're absolutely vicious. John, I thank you for the call.
Come on, Dr. Benevolence or something like that. Because whether you agree with them or not, I don't think. There's a question, though. How will this affect people who actually commit suicide? In other words, if you agree that...
How would it affect people who actually commit suicide? You mean by themselves?
No, I mean who try
well,
to
what
commit
they
suicide.
would do is bring them back to life and put them in jail.
Bob, I misspoke. I'm sorry, I misspoke. What I meant to say was if someone attempts suicide, as you know, they're subject to arrest. Now, how are you going to say that a doctor can assist in suicide, but somebody cannot kill themselves? That's the question that I posed to you, and I'd like to hear your answer. Although I agree with Dr.
Again, the court decision merely struck down a law that forbids doctors from assisting patients who want to end it all. That's what it does.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
But my question is, you have to understand, if a guy goes out to try to commit suicide...
I don't know of anybody who's been thrown in jail or fined or punished because he tried to commit suicide. How does that grab you, dunce? What is going on here, for heaven's sake? Gene, hello?
I've had some hands-on experience. The cops has experience. The clergymen, psychiatrists, and doctors. A person who is about to commit suicide is not in their right mind. The one who climbs up on a building is asking for help, and they can talk them down. A person who's about to commit suicide usually starts giving away their possessions. It's a telltale sign. If you can get them to a doctor or a psychiatrist, sometimes a clergyman or a cop.
If you take him to a psychiatrist, he'll commit suicide for sure. Only instead of jumping off a building, he'll cut his own throat.
I'm talking about a real man.
Yeah. I'm talking about a real man. I'm talking about a real man. I'm talking about a real man. Hey, listen, I tell you something. You bring out any subject that has any aspect of profundity in it, and from out under the rocks, people try to hurt my reputation by calling this program and saying they're aficionados. They're listeners. I mean, good heavens. What closed minds these people have. What conclusions they've jumped to.
How to read the copy of that letter?
No.
Okay, please do.
Why?
Well, it's most interesting.
Oh.
But I don't want to comment on that. What I want to know is, what's wrong with America? Why do we buy books? Why do we watch losers and liars on talk shows? Losers being Chris Darden, Marsha Clark. Liars being Johnny Cochran, Robert Shapiro, and, of course, in his new digs in jail, F. Lee Bailey. I'd like to hear from your listeners.
What, do you have a show? You have a show? Hey, what an idiot. What an oddball. What a goof. I'd like to hear from you. You know, really, I tell you, this format attracts the worst elements of society. Really does. It really does. But for some strange reason, those who have very few cards in their deck, or no oars in the water, they're the ones inclined to call. And that's the nature of things. You're not being sincere. There's no such thing as a little bit. A person either smokes or doesn't. And you know what? You'd be a better caller if you'd stop that smoking. You can't even laugh without wheezing.
Yeah? Oh, boy.
It doesn't make you a bad person. Hey, look, if I could quit, anybody could quit. And I quit a long music. I know a guy by the name of Rudy. He keeps saying, I'm going to quit. My foot, he'll quit. Thank you very much, A.J. Good luck to you, A.J. See you at the fair.
Right.
Remember this one? Meet me in St. Louis, Louis. Meet me at the fair. You sound just like Judy Garland. Thank you very much.
All right.
What? Your instincts were right, Mike. Your instincts were right. Good old Mike Mamone. Never second-guess Mike Mamone. I could just imagine, you tell that to Hurry when you do his show? Don't second-guess me. My friend! Not meaning that you are, but if I were a sneaky anti-Semite, I would do exactly what you've done. I would say, yeah, but when they get their paycheck, they should think about it.
Yeah, Mr. Grant.
You're a real slick artist there, you know that?
Yeah, that's sweet,
that's sweet. Get off my phone, you fake, phony fraud. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him, Mark Antony said. And then he proceeded to do nothing but praise him. Remember, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ear. Oh, I'm sorry. They don't teach that anymore. I'm delighted, but you see what happens? I let Andy go on, and I was chastised. There's a saying. Sure road defenders try to please everybody. Connie, appreciate the call.
Full, vicious, anti-American Carl from Manhattan who calls all the time.
Yeah.
I heard him call his Marxist pal last night who indulges his lies, saying that whites made excuses for Timothy McVeigh in this country.
I didn't hear one white make an excuse for Timothy McVeigh.
Absolutely not. Everyone I know vilified him and condemned him. As a matter of fact, it was the left in this country who were the dishonest ones. They tried to link him with militias. He had no part of being a militia. As a matter of fact, the militia kicked him out. And he was an individual wacko. But look who we make excuses for in this country. It's just the opposite.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Well, if Carl really believes that, then Carl is absolutely stupid. But I don't think he really believes that. I think that's just part of his propaganda war. Thank you very much. That's John of Staten Island right here on the Bob Grant Show.
Because he's under an all-out assault now down in that Little Rock courtroom, and the media seems to be playing along. Hale's credibility is crucial here because if the jury believes what he's saying about James McDougal, Susan McDougal, and Jim Guy Tucker, then they're liable to believe what he says about Bill Clinton, and that may mean a pre-convention presidential indictment. Bob, let's look at the credibility record here. Bill Clinton versus David Hale. Bill Clinton told us that though he had caused pain in his marriage, he told us he'd never slept with Jennifer Flowers, despite those audio tapes. Anybody out there believe that? Bill Clinton told us, I think it was, Bob, 6 different lies about how he beat the draft. Bill Clinton said Paula Jones is a pathetic liar. You know, that he was never alone in that Little Rock hotel room with her. But his co-defendant, Trooper Danny Ferguson, in what I believe was the only pretrial deposition allowed to go forward in that case, Danny Ferguson said he escorted Paula Corbin Jones right to Bill Clinton's hotel room door. And let's not forget, Bob, when Bill Clinton, who'd been claiming a $68,000 loss in Whitewater, let's remember how he suddenly recalled, and this was almost comical, it was in a press conference, how he suddenly recalled the $20,000 he loaned his dead mama, which he thought had gone into Whitewater, but suddenly, Shazam, he remembered differently when he read his mama's book. I never read that book, Bob, but I've heard that there's nothing in there about any $20,000 loan. Yet the press bought that lie, hook, line, and sinker. But when David Hale yesterday admitted he'd forgotten about some of the SBA money he admits he stole, I mean, this is why this guy has cut a plea bargain here. He says he's guilty. But suddenly, we're not supposed to believe anything David Hale says. Well, I just want to remind everybody out there, when it comes to David Hale's specific allegation that Bill Clinton pressured him to make that illegal $300,000 loan, David Hale has a corroborative witness. His name hasn't come up yet in this trial so far, but Bill Clinton's bodyguard, Arkansas Trooper L. Douglas Brown, he's told the press that he was present during at least one meeting where Bill Clinton reminded Hale about that loan, and according to Brown, in the account I've read, I believe it was in the American Spectator, according to L.D. Brown, David Hale looked very uncomfortable talking about that loan before a witness like L.D. Brown.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, I'm not surprised that a viper like Frank Lausenberg would be guilty of what he did. That doesn't surprise me. What does surprise and disappoint is a total lack of reaction on anybody's part. It's like, no, I guarantee you, if it were Al Damato that did that, Lieberman that did that, it would be reverberation time. But Lausenberg has some kind of cadre protecting him. Every time you call, you keep telling us what a good Catholic you are, how much you love the Pope. You're probably one of these guys that when you were a kid and you went to confession, you left out all the good stuff. You went like this. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I lied twice, and I disobeyed my parents once. For these and all the sins which I cannot at present remember, I'll bet you that was your style. But schnooks like me, I told everything. Because I took it seriously. I didn't know any better.
You brought up a good subject, because I have a lot on my plate, and then I want to get right to it. That, and a song in my heart also here to tell you. Your guest yesterday, I want to comment on, he was a bishop, I believe, who had written a book, and it was not approved of by the church. Am I correct?
What's that?
A bishop who had written a book you had as a guest yesterday. on your show.
Yes, on my show. What?
I want to say this about the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is to be an example to sinners. It is not to reflect their sins. The Church has no strictures and rules to enforce its codes. When it tells you don't murder your children, if it tells you don't cheat on your wife, if it tells you don't lie, don't steal, that's in your conscience. It's up to governments to make laws. So I have no use for people in my church criticizing the Pope or the laws of the Church. And that gentleman said that the Pope does not speak for the Church, that the voices in the Church are also the people in the Church. And he is wrong. The Pope is the Church. And when he dies, he has picked the College of Cardinals who will elect his successor. And he is the Church, and we stand loyally behind him. End of subject number one. Number two, I understand WABC is going to not carry the Yankee baseball. I have to say this. We talk about many serious subjects, Bob, like the death of this poor little girl, and I hope the FAA puts an end to these children being forced to be grown-ups before they're even allowed to be children. But you have like Dick Oliver in the morning. I think I respect him as a journalist. I think he's fair. I think you have Crazy Lionel, who makes me laugh. You have Lynn Samuels, who gives her point of views. Jay Diamond, who can go from songs to serious subjects and speak about humor and gags and then talk serious. And you have you, Bob, our grumpy friend in the afternoon whose mind, and I heard a story that they say when you get older, your brain shrinks. And I'm listening to Bob Grant, and I say he's the smartest guy I know. So I don't know what's making you grumpy, but it's not because your brain is shrinking.
Well, wait a minute. Are you implying that I'm old? I mean, because I'm not. You obviously have never seen me.
I live with a 92-year-old man, and God bless our tradition.
You obviously have never seen me.
No one is too old, Bob.
You obviously have never seen me.
I haven't.
Why do you keep avoiding responding to that? You obviously have never seen me.
I have a tape when you were on CNN. When you did the radio broadcast, it was on C-SPAN.
All right, then you have seen me.
And
so I don't have to say another word.
And you're a fine man to be speaking in my home to me. Now,
you're so serious.
All right, that's the end of... well, I just want to say that I think that baseball is a good relief from...
Hey, what are you making such a big speech? We're not carrying the games next year. What's the big deal?
All right, then. I will go on to subject number 3. I understand this Saturday that the Svachim, Mario, is going to tell you off. Do you know that he was almost excommunicated by the church for his positions on various issues? That he had an undersecretary that wanted to tax church properties. Now, I understand he went to a father and he said that he didn't want to be excommunicated because everyone knows what he looks like. And he said, oh, please, Father, please, don't excommunicate me. It's not like all those other bums you excommunicate. They can sneak in. But everybody knows this Svachim. They know what I look like. Even if I wore a rubber nose, even if I wore glasses, they'd know it was the Svachim. Please, Father, give me penance. And the priest told him, well, okay, Mario, you can do penance, but you got to listen to that song that all the people were singing about you. And I'll leave you with the Mario song. Mario, wait, let me get my keys. Mario, attendame, tu sei proprio uno Svachim. He could run New York State, but all the streets were full of hate. And when he comes to town, and all the people sing, Mario, attendame, tu sei proprio uno Svachim. Mario, attendame, Mario. And there they are, Bob. Have a good afternoon, and good luck with your book.
Bless you. Go in peace. Sin no more.
Goodbye.
Okay. All right. I don't have this portion brought to you. No, I don't.
Good afternoon, good evening, Mr. Grant. I was reading the Daily News where I see that Bronx DA, Johnson.
Yes?
He let that basketball player, Rod Strickland, go off these serious charges and just give him a year's probation for savagely beating the mother of his child. And then we're going to trust him to give justice to cop killers?
Well,
I mean, he was talking about that domestic violence got to stop. And then he lets this guy go. Why? Because he's a professional basketball player? It's ridiculous.
I think there's a big difference between prosecuting a cop killer and prosecuting this basketball player.
He could have killed her, too. With one punch he could have killed her.
That's true. That's true. You're right. I guess this disqualifies him.
Another thing about that double standard that I can't stand no more. Sharpton could incite his followers to go and burn a building down and kill 8 people, and nothing is done to him. That guy Meltzer, I remember a few years back, was taken to court for inciting the murder of a black man. So it never ends. It just makes people hate people. The double standard makes people hate people.
Yeah, there is a double standard. There's no doubt about it.
I never hate no one, but with the double standards, just, pick me off.
Well, I don't blame you, but I had illusions. I really had ideas not too long ago that maybe I could help to put a big dent in the double standard. I no longer have those illusions.
Well, at least you make it known. A lot of people, but I do know a lot of people know about it, and they can't stand it. They're just quiet, and they don't want to talk about it, but they can't stand it. It's just ridiculous. I don't like Meltzer either, but if this guy could incite someone to kill someone, go to court and everything else, and be fined and charged for the murder of this man, what about Sharpton?
Walter, I appreciate your call. Thank you very much,
Have a nice day.
Okay, Carmine, or Carmine, really. Yes, Carmine.
Hi, Bob. I just want to give a little experience how these doctors cheat Medicare. I'll be as brief as possible. Back in July, I was waiting for my brother to pick me up, and I passed out. So they called we have voluntary ambulatory service here. But somehow or other, one of the city hospitals came, and they took me to the hospital, which is only about 2 miles away. The bill was $800. Nothing was done in the ambulance. Other than that, they removed teeth that I had implanted. And they removed them. And it cost to me for $5,000. Now, I was in the hospital 2 days. They said in intensive care. I really don't remember. But each day...
What's on your mind, Ron? What's on your mind?
I thank you so much for being so open-minded with me. This is my third call to you. I am the gentleman in the Barclays Charity for Legal Reform. I copied you a letter dated March 8th, which I sent to Arthur Sulzberger Jr., a friend of mine at the New York Times, and we will be sending you the information that we talked about concerning how, under the Republican Party leadership of the last 20 years, the very wealthy have grown so much in acquiring more and more wealth.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ron, you keep sending that propaganda, that fake, phony propaganda, and I'll keep saving on kindling. Jack, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, who, Jack?
No, I'm Bob. I think you're Jack.
Talk. I say, am I Jack? Am I
on? Well, you're on the radio, but you're also on.
Thank you very much. I just heard some good news, and many of your friends that need this listening to you now. We're going to have a gene to reverse abnormal genes to normal genes through genetic vaccines. And what do you think about that?
Well, we've had so many false...
But this is not false this time.
Oh, okay, good. That's great. If it's not false, that's great. I'm glad you're so sure about it.
I'm positive.
Oh, how can you be positive?
Because I know they're making it come true to the people that need it, and they're so happy, and tell the people at least that have abnormal genes, you can stimulate them, will you please? Tell the white lie, maybe it'll come true.
I beg your pardon? Tell them and...
A white lie that may come true.
If I tell them it's true, it may come true?
Don't tell them it's true. Tell them you're lying, but let's hope it comes true.
Okay, let's hope it comes true. All right, thank you very much. I hope you get better, Jack.
Yeah, you too.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Hey, folks, I tell you what, someday, I'm sure, they will have a computer in here. You won't need some smart-ass guy sitting here. You just have a computer. And you can, by virtue of some kind of interconnective listenership with the station, determine what response you want from whatever it is you say. And you will get the response tailored to fit your political viewpoint, your emotional status. I think that's a great idea. As a matter of fact, I think I'll call Bill Gates right now and ask him if he can hurry one into production.
Governor Pataki, he's doing a lot of good work. God bless him. And especially that ruling anyone in New York winning large sums of money that's on welfare, well, and they that win in the lottery and the OTBs, the New York State will take 50% of their winnings. And I believe it should be the same in New Jersey and the other states. But as far as New Jersey is concerned, I'm afraid that the super socialist Judge Debbie Porras, she probably would reject it. After all, she's nothing but an extension of Willance, Bob.
Yeah, look who appointed her.
Yeah, you bet. We can see that.
Yeah, you bet. So, Jim Florio, where are you when we need you?
That's right. That's right, Bob.
Yeah, well, I tell you, she doesn't have to worry. Madame Christie doesn't have to worry about my supporting her in 1997. Don't worry, I won't bother you with my support, Madame Christie. I'm looking forward to that election well, I don't want to look forward too soon because we have a 1996 election, right?
That's very important, Bob, especially Congress.
One or two things. Firstly, I have to laugh at these people that are so upset at the fact that we even suggest that it's Arabs that may be involved with this bombing. If Arabs are thought right off the bat to be involved, even if we don't have the facts, then they made their own bed by their activities over the decades. It's too bad if they're being blamed. Let them change their act, and maybe they won't be blamed right off the bat when things like this happen. I'm not saying that we should say for sure that they did it, but the fact that we suspect them, it's quite justified. These same liberals that are upset when we dare to suggest that it may be the Arabs, these are the same people like Tim Minton on Channel 7 the other night when those 15 police officers here in New York were indicted for evading taxes.
Yes.
He said the type of language that was used in their statements sounded like right-wing militia groups.
Really?
Yeah. So what happens, Bob? It turns out that so far, 11 out of the 15 are black and Hispanic police officers. It just goes to show that these people on the air don't even know what's going on in our society. There are black and Hispanic separatists out there who don't want any part of America also. And there was one other thing, Bob, that I wanted to get to before you go off the air. Was that woman talking about the section in your book where you speak about senior citizens?
Yes, she was.
Well, you've been vindicated, Bob. Between 1967, this is from in the chapter entitled Graft for the Millions in P.J. O'Rourke's book, Parliament of Whores. He presents the following facts regarding our vulnerable and starving seniors. Between 1967 and 1987, Ulster households received a 52.6% increase in real inflation-adjusted income, this versus a 7% increase for everybody else. Senior citizens' poverty rate is below the overall poverty rate and has been since 1982. Imagine that, the greedy and horrible 1980s, Bob. That's when it started. Non-senior citizens have an average net worth of $32,700 compared to a net worth of $60,000.
This is interesting. What language do they speak in Iran?
Different language, but...
Of course it's a different language, but what... Amy, don't get nervous now.
No,
just because I'm
questioning.
Don't get nervous just because
I miss you screaming, though.
Stop interrupting me.
Okay,
I have a question again I'm going to pose to you.
Yes.
What language do they speak in Iran?
Well, they speak Iranian.
You're wrong. See, you don't know what you're talking about. You're a fake, phony fraud. You're a very paranoidal individual, and you're using the Bob Grant show to audition somewhere. The language they speak in Iran is Farsi, F-A-R-S-I, Farsi. Iran was formerly Persia, for your information. So here you are, you say you're an authority on foreign language, you study foreign language, and you don't even know what language they speak in Iran. You say, at first I thought they were Mexican, but they were Iranians. I could tell by the way they were talking. By the way, speaking of foreign countries, where are you from, Amy?
Where am I from?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I speak different languages. I'm bilingual.
No, I didn't ask how many languages you speak. I asked you where you were from.
Where am I from?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I was born in Brooklyn. I don't know if I have a
Really?
Brooklyn accent.
I see. You were born in Brooklyn. Isn't that interesting? You don't want to tell me where you're from, do you?
Okay. Well, they had a different... they were going to East Mauritius, and they sounded strange.
Yeah, you don't want to answer the question. Do you have a Brooklyn accent? Is that what you would say?
If I have a Brooklyn accent...
You know, Amy, you're not an honest person. You're not a very honest person.
I love you, Bob.
Yeah, but forget about that now for a minute. Don't try to charm me now.
No.
Where are you from originally, and why are you ashamed of that nation?
What nation? Iran?
No, where you're from.
No, I was born in Brooklyn, actually, and then I was raised in After Brooklyn, I came here to West Babylon, where the many Europeans are
Yeah,
here.
prior to your arrival in Brooklyn, where did you live?
Where did I live?
Yes.
Oh, well, what do you want to know?
Because you're claiming that you can tell an Iranian accent.
Yes, I studied dialects, yes.
And you studied dialect.
And they look like Mexican.
And I want to know where in heaven's name you're from.
No.
Are you ashamed of where you're from?
No, I'm not ashamed of where I'm from.
Well, then tell us.
No, but they look suspicious. They were buying tickets to
This
Israel.
broad doesn't want to tell us where she's from.
Okay, no, I will not. Maybe I'm from the moon. If I tell you I'm from the moon.
You want to know something? As far as I'm concerned, you can go to the moon. Get off my phone. I'm not going to waste my time with you. Get off my phone, Amy. I'll be doggone. All right. Every time I ask her where she's from, she says, well, you know what? I don't have to reprise the conversation. You heard it. Sound like a real con artist. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let that frighten you away. You know, sometimes when I dispatch a prevaricator, such as the very charming Amy, people say, I'm not going to call. Well, why? What do you get? You get frightened? You get nervous? You have nothing to be afraid of if you're an honest caller, not pretending to be something you aren't. First, she's a student of languages. Then she's a student of dialects. That's fascinating. All right.